understand how special your world is. How unique a people you humans are. Which is why it is all the more painful and confusing to us that so few of you seem capable of living up to the ideals you set for yourselves.
Yeah, well, don't count on me, George. I never had any ideals.
James Caan is a human cop with an alien partner in Alien Nation, one of 5 new movies we're going to be reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert. And I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune. Our first film is called Alienation. That's 2 words, Alien Nation. And it's a genuinely entertaining version of that old reliable, the cop buddy picture with 2 very different detectives. The time here is 1991, the place Los Angeles. Alien creatures have arrived in great numbers, have been quarantined, but now they're set free in society. Some cause trouble, some don't. James Caan plays a hard-as-nails Los Angeles detective, reluctantly paired with an alien newcomer played by Mandy Patinkin. But Caan warms to the idea of them as a pair when they track an alien criminal.
You do agree that there's a good chance that these 2 shootings are related. That's settled, aren't you? I think we're really starting to click here, George.
Their relationship often takes a humorous turn as Caan learns about the alien culture.
Oh, my God. I got yours.
What is that? Raw what? What kind is that?
This?
Yeah.
This is beaver.
What?
Beaver. It's tasty.
I'm sure.
Would you like to try some?
None of the best.
I always tell my son, how do you know you don't like it if you won't even try it?
Their big mission is to track an alien drug dealer. Here's where Patinkin's character really turns on the heat against one of his own kind's flunkies.
Where's the drug? What drug? This is an oil refinery. Where? You can't do this.
George, I think you're crushing his little chest bones.
Now, this is an example of how you can put a nice twist on a familiar story, and it will work if it's been fully written. Caan and Patinkin have special characters to play. The only angle that I wish had been explored more is the alien society. I think if they had taken a little more time with that whole alien society, which really looks fascinating in this film, this would have been a sensational picture. Instead, it's just a good film, but I'm pleased with that. Alienation, thumbs up from me.
Gene, I didn't like it nearly as much as you did. In fact, I found it really disappointing because I thought, first of all, I agree with you, they did nothing with the alien society. This is just like another minority group that's arrived in Southern California.
That's what it's supposed to be, obviously.
Secondly, lots and lots and lots of other things could have... Think of the wonder of the fact that aliens might come down to Earth and live among us. What would happen then? Would it just turn into a cop buddy picture where every alien takes another cliche, like one is the cop and one is the robber and one is the drug dealer? Or would maybe we learn something from this society that would really challenge us? This movie is totally standard with the exception of the makeup.
No, I think that what you do learn is that the alien creatures are living among us now. We treat our, I mean, obviously it's a parable about racism. I mean, that's the most obvious thing about this film. So I enjoyed it at that minor level, but I also got glimpses of the alien society that was interesting, and then the buddy combination here worked for me.
I don't think so. One thing that bothered me is that the plot is level 1. I mean, right away you know who the Terrence Stamp character is, you know what he represents. There aren't any surprises. You say there were some twists in the movie.
Yes,
there weren't any twists.
No, I didn't know what the substance was that they were tracking. I had no idea, and I don't think you knew that substance either.
I knew that it was a drug. Come on, you know it.
I didn't know it.
You know it has to be.
I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it did.
I did.
I didn't know what it did.
I've seen, well, what does drugs usually do? Make you feel good and then make you feel bad.
Well, that's true.
And so,
I know, you sound like a doctor.
Thank you, and that's my prescription. Okay, next movie, and our next movie involves the adventures of Elvira, the syndicated TV hostess who is sometimes the best thing about watching creature features. In fact, I think Elvira could have done a number on Alien Nation. The movie's called Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, and it stars the raven-haired vampire woman with her plunging neckline and an adventure in a small New England town that is shocked when Elvira turns up to claim her inheritance from a long-lost relative. Right from the start, the townspeople don't like the looks of her.
Listen, young lady, I don't know who you are or where you came from, but you most certainly don't fit in this town. Why, you don't even fit in that dress.
That's Cassandra Peterson repeating the role she made famous on television. When Elvira's aunt's will is read, she's left a house, a dog, and a recipe book.
That's it? A house, a dog, and a book?
But the recipes turn out to involve black magic, and when she follows one of them, her surprise casserole turns into a bigger surprise than she anticipated.
I hope you're hungry, because here's dinner.
There isn't much of a plot, but what little there is consists of Elvira's attempts to make friends with the local teenagers. Her approach is to tell them a lot of corny jokes.
Tell him I was more than just a great set of boobs. I was also an incredible pair of legs.
It was W.C. Fields who once refused to star in any movie that featured children, dogs, or plunging necklines. He was afraid that he would be upstaged by those three elements visually. Well, this movie is only missing the kid. It has the dog and it has the plunging neckline, and one of the problems Elvira has is that she keeps upstaging herself. Her appearance is so wild that her performance seems tame by comparison. The plot is corny and dumb, and Elvira's one-liners get tiresome when we hear them for an entire movie. She's like the guest that comes to the party and can't turn off the material. The Elvira character is intriguing, but I think she'd be better off in an up-to-date satire instead of this old-fashioned, recycled B picture that seems inspired by the same kinds of bad movies that Elvira makes fun of on television. If she weren't in this film, I bet she could do a real good job on it.
Yeah, the problem is that there's no story here. I mean, you have her walking around in her makeup and her plunging neckline and her beehive hairdo or whatever it is, and too much hair, if I can say that. And she, doesn't have anything to do. I mean, really doesn't have, you have one special big effect, which we just saw, and that's an end of movie. And I don't know who they're selling it to, but it's not sexy, it's not funny, and it isn't a good teenager or horror picture.
It might be for children if it weren't for the fact that some of the language and some of the situations are inappropriate.
She has a couple of jokes that made me laugh where I thought there was a glimpse of some bright writing. I mean, they could take a character like her and really have some fun with it. They did not.
The screenplay didn't do it. Coming up next, a new documentary on the life of John Lennon. It's called Imagine.
Did your wife enjoy it over there? She loved it. Who?
Don't tell him he's married. It's a secret.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mornings are always crazy in my house. Somehow, I make it to breakfast. Today, Mom is putting potatoes in the toaster, or Rita toaster hash browns. Now I can have real potatoes for breakfast and still make the school bus on time.
Here comes today's Duracell battery. And here's yesterday's. Today's are built to last up to 30% longer than the ones we made just a few years back. So you'll be guaranteed a long, happy life. Today's Duracell lasts 30% longer.
When we made Heinz Homestyle gravy, we used a homemade recipe like yours.
Oh, really?
Real beef juices just like yours.
Oh, yeah? But where are the lumps? Oh, no.
Heinz Homestyle gravy, so close to homemade.
It's the right here. Say it out loud. From the fans in the stands, the TV crowd. It's the Tin Man making a big sound in the silver bull. It won't slow you down. So come on into Coors Light. It's the right here now. Do the good life, yeah. Good life, yeah. So come on into Coors Light. It's the right here now.
Pepperidge Farm's new hot fudge brownie. It's just a single serving, but with all this rich chocolate and marshmallow sauce, you almost want to share it. Nah. Mix real fruit filling with flaky croissant pastry, and what do you get? Pepperidge Farm's new croissant toaster tarts. What will they think of next?
This weekend marks what would have been John Lennon's 48th birthday, and his murder 8 years ago has now prompted a scathing biography by Albert Goldman allegedly showing Lennon's darker side. And now here comes the release of a film titled Imagine that tries to give us a glimpse into Lennon's private life, as well as an overview of his career as both a Beatle and as an artist in his own right, working with his wife, Yoko Ono. I think the most revealing moments of this film come right at the very beginning, however, when Lennon talks about his boyhood.
I was raised by my auntie. My father and my mother split when I was about 4. I spent some time with my mother up till about 4. Then my father split. He was a merchant seaman, you know, you can imagine, and it was 1940s in the war and all that. And he left, and I was brought up by an auntie.
The most special musical footage is a private rehearsal of Imagine at his palatial estate.
Imagine all the people.
In another fascinating clip from the Lennon archives, John explains how he first met Yoko.
And the first thing that was in the gallery, as you went in, there was a white step ladder. And yes, I thought, okay, it's the first show I've been to that said something, you know, warm to me. So then I decided to see the rest of the show, and that's when we met.
We also get some home movies with John and Yoko's son, Sean Lennon, who talks about his father.
I never really registered that he was a Beatle until I saw a movie called Yellow Submarine. And I just put it together, and I would ask about it, and he would say, yeah, there's the Beatles. I was a Beatle, but that's over now. That's over now, and I'm spending time with you or something.
What's on the screen in this movie is fascinating. There are some poignant interview sections, particularly with John's first wife, Cynthia, who talks about what it's like to be left behind in the dust of a star. There's an amazing sequence where we literally see her not get on a train with the Beatles. She's left behind. She can't convince the security guard that she's John Lennon's wife, and she is left behind. The music is wonderful, of course. I wish there had been more of it. But because of the current controversy over the book about John Lennon that paints a much darker portrait of drug abuse and cruelty, we are left to wonder if this movie, Imagine, is the whole story of John Lennon. But taken for what it is, it shows sides of Lennon's life that we haven't seen before, or sides that we have seen before and still find immeasurably pleasurable to revisit.
I had something of the same reaction. You know, like everyone, I suppose I'm a Beatles fan, and I'm a John Lennon fan. I also remember the Complete Beatles and the Beatles Story, earlier documentaries. This one has largely new footage, this archival footage of this man, as you said, who was the most recorded man of modern times. They had 200 hours of private home movies. The problem I find is that documentary films are people looking at you. Home movies are movies you're making about yourself, and so you are very deliberately performing, and you're very aware of the fact that you're making a home movie. So that frequently I felt that I was seeing John and Yoko in private moments that they were making public, such as their famous honeymoon, which they made into a press conference, so that I wasn't sure at all times that I was getting a documentary look. I felt I was getting a look which John Lennon almost stage managed after his death.
Well, that's the one question I'm saying. Look, I would take any scrap of material. I just want to know what kind of material that I'm seeing, and I think you've described it quite well. It is somehow filtered. But there are times when even the person when they're being photographed can't know what the camera is catching. And there are some, for example, simple physical things. He was frail. That surprised me. I mean, I don't know why that surprised me. When I saw him now, he seems smaller. And then there are moments when he is tender to a visitor. That's a magical scene where a visitor, a stoned-out guy, comes to his house and he helps him. That may have been included in stage management in some way. It still is very touching, and a lot of people would have wanted to visit John Lennon's house, and they'll be interested to see how that scene plays out.
By and large, it's a very interesting movie. And another thing that's interesting about it is the way it recaptures that all strange late 60s, early 70s period of flower power and all that, you know, grow your hair, peace in the world kind of thing. Seems very strange. Coming up next, Salaam, Bombay, the story of a street kid in India who tries to survive in a world that seems completely indifferent to his fate. And also coming up, Track 29 with Teresa Russell as a restless housewife haunted by her fantasies.
Electric. It's just the way he was.
Save hundreds of dollars now at your John Deere dealer. Save $40 on walk-behind, $125 on riders and lawn tractors, $150 on lawn and garden tractors. Plus, get them interest-free until March 1989 and with no payments until April 1989 when you use John Deere financing or your John Deere credit card. Normal down payment required. Save now on a John Deere walk-behind, rider, or lawn and garden tractor. But hurry, this offer ends October 31st. See the John Deere dealer in a town nearest you. Or check your yellow pages.
Delta Airlines flight attendant Irene Lockwoody loves to fly.
Are you still here? My son was supposed to meet me.
Well, I'll wait with you.
That kid is always late.
What she loves most are the people she meets.
He must have gotten caught in the rain.
He was even born late.
Joey!
Irene is what Delta's all about.
Irene.
Yes?
Are you married?
Yep. 2 kids.
Late again, Joey.
We love to fly and it shows.
What is this?
Is that a head of lettuce or your high school picture?
Honey, mayonnaise.
A sesame seed bun?
chicken.
Oh, tender, juicy chicken cooked to a golden crunch.
Oh, I know. A McChicken sandwich.
Oh, yeah. Oh, here's the good part.
I've seen enough. Let's go.
Where?
Just watch, Einstein.
W?
No, McDonald's. I want a McDonald's McChicken sandwich. Are you coming?
You buying?
Let's see. Milano for Charlie, Bordeaux for Terrence, and Gladys. Dark chocolate and pecans of Geneva. Pepperidge Farm distinctive cookies inspire fierce loyalty. Everybody thinks their favorite is the best. They're right. Party's not till tomorrow. Tragic era.
Our next movie is from India, and it's a surprisingly moving and dramatic film that tells the story of a 10-year-old boy who was abandoned to live on the streets of Bombay. The name of the movie is Salaam, Bombay, and as it opens, the boy named Chai Pao is separated from the circus that he's been traveling with. In Bombay, he joins the society of other orphans and drifters and street kids, and finally, he finds work as a tea boy, working for pennies as he brings tea to the residents of one of the poorest districts in the city. Life is hard in this society, but Chai Pao's youth makes him blind to some of the realities. Since he's separated from his mother, he transfers his need for affection to a young prostitute who is almost as naive as he is. There were scenes in the movie that reminded me of the London depicted by Charles Dickens a century ago. Scenes like this one, when a prostitute and her pimp visit their daughter who has been taken away from them and locked up in a government school. Salaam, Bombay tells a sad story, but it is not really a sad movie because of the sense of life in the film. It's so abundant. Chai Pao is an unfortunate child, but not a hopeless one because he has intelligence and pluck and courage, and with a few breaks, he might actually survive to grow up to be somebody someday. The movie shows us India as it's rarely been seen before. It was all shot on location, and some of the scenes, like a beggar's funeral, were shot with hidden cameras so that we can see the real reactions of the passers-by. The film's director is Meera Nair, a young Indian woman who studied film at Harvard and then made 4 documentaries before Salaam, Bombay, which is her first fiction film. She knows how to tell her story movingly and honestly and dramatically, and Salaam, Bombay is one of the best films of the year.
Well, it certainly is one of the most moving films I've seen this year, and of course it comes from the heart rather than from some kind of manufactured Hollywood deal, and that's probably why it's so good. You mentioned Dickens. I think of Hector Vivenco's Pichote, which was about Brazilian street children, and similarly about the ones who will make it and the ones who won't. It's a story that is not told. It's a story that the numbers are in the tens and hundreds of thousands, possibly. It is a beautiful story. The individual characters, I don't know how the performances were achieved. I understand it was through some kind of workshop to get these real street kids to act like actors, but eventually their natural life, which is so refreshing to see on camera, comes through, and we follow this story. I mean, it's you know, I think the thing that frustrates us so much is when we can always predict where a movie is going. Here, there's no way.
Here you can't. And the sense of life in this movie is overflowing. Now, you mentioned Pichote, the Brazilian film. The difference between these two films is instructive, I think, because there's a lot less hope in Rio and Pichote's life, because the society there is much less structured and much more brutal. The strange thing about Bombay, in this film anyway, shot by an Indian woman who presumably knows what she's talking about, is that even at the very lowest levels of society, people are recognized as existing, and they do have functions, and they can survive. So that sad as this boy's plight is, nevertheless, he's in a structure that will allow him to exist, and maybe he has a chance.
Well, I think that's what the point that she wants to hold out hope for them. I think that's an attitude of affection and love that she wants to show, and it's shown beautifully. Coming up next, Teresa Russell meets a strange young visitor in a psychological thriller called Track 29.
Are you English?
Is it that obvious?
Orville Redenbacher and his grandson, Gary.
Well, popcorn is a fun item. Now, since we got the microwave flavors, it's made it much more interesting.
It seems only right to flavor it with real ingredients.
People wanted good, substantial flavors. Sour cream and onion, the cheddar cheese, nacho, and the caramel.
I wouldn't think of eating anything else other than Grandpa's popcorn with real ingredients.
And if he ever thought of eating anything else, he'd be disinherited anyway, so...
A desperate time. A world at war. A boy alone. From the director of The Color Purple comes another home video classic, Empire of the Sun, now on video cassette. And they've taken his wife.
It's a kidnapping.
Now he's taking action to get her back.
This thing sets off atomic bombs.
Pat Collins says Harrison Ford is the ultimate hero. Bring home Frantic on video cassette from Warner Home Video.
I'm Cy Sperling, president of the Hair Club for Men, and these are just a few of the men who called our toll-free number for our booklet about thinning hair. This is the booklet that tells you what you need to know about every hair replacement method available. It discusses everything, from toupees and wigs to transplants and weaves, and it even has a section on the realities and misconceptions of minoxidil. Just call our toll-free number now, and I'll send you our new updated edition, which includes a whole new series of before and after photos like these. These men are actual clients and not models. They're men like you who discovered that you don't need drugs or chemicals, surgery or miracles to have a full head of hair. To get all the facts free and without obligation, just call our toll-free number now, and I'll send you the new booklet. And remember, I'm not only the Hair Club president, but I'm also a client.
Our next film is Nicholas Roeg's psychological mystery, Track 29, with Teresa Russell playing a married woman who meets a stranger who winds up stirring up dark memories and current passions within her. She meets the mysterious young man, played by the fine English actor Gary Oldman, at a restaurant.
How do you do, madam? My name is Martin. That's spot on, quite right. Jolly as shrew. I'm from England. I've come all the way across the pond in search of my mama.
As their relationship develops, it triggers guilty memories of a girlhood rape. The movie suggests that maybe Oldman is Teresa Russell's long-lost son.
You're going to make up for lost time.
How do you mean?
All the years. All those years. The lost years.
One of the questions this film raises is whether Oldman even exists for anyone else in the film, or can be seen by anyone, including Russell's wacky husband who is hung up on trains and his mistress, a nurse. The film tries so hard to be deeply psychological that it becomes frustrating for the viewer, at least this one, and sometimes even laughable. And unfortunately, I think it goes over the top in psychology and wastes the talents of two very fine actors.
This movie was a tough call for me. I remember coming right out of the theater and somebody asking me, did you like it? And my immediate reaction was, no, I didn't like it. Then I realized like has nothing to do with it. This movie is not intended to be likable. I think it's intended to be challenging, and it's supposed to be the kind of movie that you puzzle out later. For example, the Gary Oldman character is not only not there for anyone except Teresa Russell, but he is also, he's the same actor who's used to play the man who rapes her at the carnival. So the entire movie takes place inside her mind.
I agree.
Possibly including even all of the weird things involving her husband and his model trains and his super patriotic model train club and his nurse who likes to spank him while wearing leather gloves or rubber gloves. All of this kinky stuff is right out of Nicholas Roeg's grab bag of tricks that he uses in all of his movies. And this time it's intriguing.
It doesn't compare with his other films. That's where I think you're right. I mean, this is the kind of film he likes to make, and I'd like to see. But this time I thought that the grab bag was full of a lot of bum prizes.
Well, I think the one thing that's certainly worth seeing is Gary Oldman's performance and Teresa Russell's performance.
Roger, as much as they're two of my favorite actors, that wasn't enough. You're not going to budge me on this one.
Okay, I won't budge you. Now let's recap the movies we reviewed on this show. We had a split opinion on Alien Nation, the science fiction cop buddy movie. Gene liked the fantasy. I thought it was predictable. 2 thumbs down for Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. Corny dialogue and a juvenile plot. 2 thumbs up, though, for Imagine, the John Lennon documentary with some fascinating, never-before-seen footage. And we both voted thumbs up for Salaam, Bombay, with its colorful and emotional portrait of an Indian street urchin. Finally, a split decision on Track 29, the bizarre fantasy starring Teresa Russell and Gary Oldman. I was intrigued, Gene was disappointed. And so the one that I like the most is Salaam, Bombay. I think that's really one of the milestones of the fall movie season.
I think it's very, very special. I think that the John Lennon film can be enjoyed for whatever it is, and we'll never know the full story. And I also got a kick out of Alienation.
Okay.
That's it for this week. Next time we'll be back with reviews of 5 more new movies, including The Accused, a courtroom drama with Kelly McGillis defending rape victim Jodie Foster. And we'll also review Shirley MacLaine starring as a strict piano instructor named Madame Suzatska. That's next week. And until then, the balcony is closed.
Raisinets and Goobers are playing everywhere, starring plump, juicy raisins and great golden peanuts. Both now feature creamy Nestle milk chocolate. Hot Pockets. When you want a hot meal without a big deal, try Hot Pockets pizza, ham and cheese, or beef and cheddar. Microwave ready in just 3 minutes. Johnny Cat Premium Cat Litter. Johnny Cat and a little privacy is all any cat needs. Fi Bar, the delicious fruit and fiber snack bar. High in fiber, fortified with oat bran. No cholesterol and only 99 calories per bar.